Love, that ever-flowing liquid fire of light, ever-expanding and illuminating truth, which is always revealed with wisdom, a spiritual nutrient necessary for vitality that is maintained through selflessness, a filter of ether that aids purity, which is love. Love, a limitless paper lantern floating into infinity on the intentions and actions of initiates of the mysteries. Welcome, fellow Phoenixes, to the Spiritual Phoenix Podcast, where we make a daily offering to the divine by putting our past on the pyre, searching the smoke for spirituality, turning the ashes into art, adapting isolation into connection, and manifesting mental wellness. I'm your host, Ross Cessna, and together we are the Spiritual Phoenix. The intent of this show isn't to tell you what to think, but to get you to think and originally articulate yourself in a way that is uplifting. We are the artists of our lives, and today is a blank canvas. Let's collectively create a better tomorrow. And right now I'd like to take a moment of silence and reflect upon what we're grateful for today. Today I'm grateful for those who have risked their lives and those who have lost their lives fighting for the freedoms that we do possess in this country. I'm also grateful for my freedom from substances. And with that, I'd like to get into a couple quotes. Better to die fighting for freedom than be a prisoner all these days of your life, or all the days of your life. And that was said by Bob Marley. Courage is resistance to fear, mastery of fear, not absence of fear. And that was said by Mark Twain. Now, I used to be very anti-America, and I won't say now that I'm a patriotic person or that I fall into nationalism, but I do respect that people have fought for the liberties that we do possess in this country, and that in many ways we do have more freedom than people really ever have had, and overall, by and by, we take it for granted. A lot of times people want all these freedoms, and they don't really look in the scheme of things because their pool of experience is so small. And granted, we have lost some freedoms as well. I don't want to get too much into that aspect of it. I don't want to get into political philosophy too much. I do respect people who have genuinely fought for freedom, and I support those troops who were looking out for our best interest culturally. And I'm not going to say what wars specifically, and I do think that some people did have the best intentions and were misled into certain wars by a government that might not have their best intentions at hand or our best intentions at hand at times. I think that that's the best way to put it. Some people were manipulated at times to fight for what they thought was fighting for freedom and to protect us, and it might have been misguided. Now, this is going to be off topic, and I do this because I don't want to get into a deep sense of political philosophy. We honor the troops, and I think that is important. I'd now like to take this time to focus on the war on drugs and the people that we've lost in that element. And I say it that way because a lot of people have died. There's been a lot of misery made by the prohibition of substances, and historically it's been proven that prohibition doesn't work, and these people are losing their freedoms because of substances they choose to ingest. I was, and I guess I still am a part of the war on drugs in some senses. I was fighting for the other side at one point in active addiction. And that Bob Marley quote really rings true to substance abuse in lots of ways. Better to die fighting for freedom than be a prisoner all these days of your life, or all the days of your life. Now, when I was in active addiction, I never realized that I was a prisoner. You see, I thought that the prison cell was living clean, no substance use. That seemed like a trap to me. The reality was I was in the prison cell with a key, and my vision was switched around. I've been liberated through putting down the use of substances, and freedom from those substances is something I'm going to be fighting for the rest of my life. If I die clean, I was victorious over my personal war on addiction. And that's a hell of a battle. Some days, granted, it's easier than others. My disease is always with me, waiting there for me to slip up. And it says, courage is resistance to fear, mastery of fear, not absence of fear. There was a quote in the one anime I like, Bleach, and somebody was going into battle, and they basically said, if you don't have fear and you're going into battle, you're a fool. Any good warrior will have fear about battle. I'm not afraid of substances. I'm afraid of what my life will become, what I will become, where my life will take me if I go back to using substances. And I'm gaining the courage to not let that cripple me. Having awareness of that fear of what my life could be like again is enough to keep me going. It's there. I have control over it because it's not holding me back. If all things go well today, I'll be celebrating 9 months clean of all substances tomorrow. I didn't think I could go 9 days without using anything when I started this. And it's interesting to me because this disease, it comes and it'll attack me in my sleep. Like, I'll have dreams of using, of relapsing, of what it would be like to have to explain to people in recovery that I went back out and I used, that I lost that battle, and that I started the war all over again. And that free pass into the misery of that, and into the guilt, the shame, the fear, the pain of what it would be like to use again. Because that's the thing, it's not like I use in my dreams and things are all hunky-dory and I'm sitting there feeling great about it. I feel guilty for using it. I feel like I've wasted the time and the repair that I've done, because if I pick something up again, that war starts all over. The battles that I've won internally can instantly be erased, and that behavior, who I was, comes back, and then I'll no longer be in control, and I will have lost my freedom consciously. That's the thing about this. Like, I have to be vigilant for my freedom from the use of substances, and I can help other people in this war for their own mind, but ultimately they're the ones who have to fight these battles. They can have help. It's said that another addict is the ultimate weapon for the disease of addiction. I can be that ultimate weapon in some senses, but people have to understand how to utilize it, and I have to refine myself so I can help other people. And I'm not going to be helping people by telling them exactly what to do, how to do things. They have to develop their own strategy based on my failures, based on my successes, because what works for me may not work for everybody else. This war of war on drugs, or the war of drugs, the war of addiction, has taken a lot of lives. In the area I live in, it's one of the most heavily hit areas by the use of heroin, by the use of fentanyl cut into the heroin. There's almost somebody dying, like sometimes a couple people, sometimes multiple people dying in a day, a week. I haven't really got to know any of those people personally yet. But the further that I get into recovery, the more likely it is that people that I know are going to be lost to this war for substances. And it's heavy stuff to think about. I've lost people to the use of drugs through my own pulling away from them, or from them pulling away. But as far as I know, I haven't directly lost anybody in my life, like their life, from those use of substances. And that's a heavy thing. I really feel like I've covered everything, and I realize this is somewhat of a heavy topic. It's something that I feel that is important, though. These people that are dealing with addiction issues are fighting a war that people without those issues can't really understand. And some people will say that addiction is not a disease because you have a choice in it. There's lots of diseases that your choices lead to the disease. You don't have to understand it, and you can have the opinion that it's not a disease, and that people say that it's a disease out of weakness or this or that. The reality is, it's not a cop-out to say that it's a disease, because of the recovery program I'm in. The 12-step program basically says that it is a disease, but we're not responsible for a disease. We're responsible for our recovery. So when you say it's a disease, it doesn't mean that you get carte blanche for all your crappy behavior. It means you have to actually accept everything you've done if you want to get better. So, I don't know. I'll get off my pedestal. A lot of respect and appreciation and gratitude goes out to the fallen heroes that fought for our freedom. Those that may fight for our freedom again. And again, I don't support a lot of the wars, and I don't support every troop across the field, because it depends on what they're fighting for, what their intentions are, what their purpose is in those skirmishes. If they're on the side of liberty and respect, and tolerance and unity for life, then they're supported. If they're on the side of fear, of violence, of damage, then I can't support that. I hope that they're able to see the light and to find a better purpose. And I also understand that a lot of those people may have been manipulated. Yeah, with that, love and light, namaste. I'm going to put this episode on the pyre.
Don't believe. Don't follow. Do not consume. Do not watch. Largely what I'm talking about here is reclaiming experience. This is what's been taken from us. It's a self-advancing, self-expanding, self-defining process, and it takes no prisoners.
The real world isn't a spiritual world, it isn't a material world, it isn't an empty world, it isn't a solid world. It's simply